Yo, what's up epic gamers, my name is Fox and welcome to another video of mine. Seeing as Final Fantasy XIV is getting a complete overhaul with patch 5.3 and I'm expecting a lot of new players to join us on our adventure in Eorzea, I decided to make a video that's more aimed towards new players to make sure they do not make the same mistakes as others when they started Final Fantasy XIV. I asked my community and the folks on Twitter to tell me what their worst advices was they ever got before they realized it was really bad. If you are just starting out Final Fantasy XIV or still a rather new player, or to be honest, even a veteran that has been around the wrong part of the community, this video is definitely going to be helpful for you. So let's jump right into it. The probably most common and one of the worst advices is the good old healers don't DPS and should just heal. To avoid hitting a difficulty wall as a healer later into the game, it is best to get used to this already in the early stages of Final Fantasy XIV. Make sure to use your damage spells as a healer as they are helpful and speed up whatever duty you are doing. A good healer can out-damage DPS in dungeon runs and contribute around half of what a DPS does in terms of damage in a raid in the endgame. Remember that your job is to keep people alive and not to keep the tank and everyone else at 100% of their health at all times. Remember that your cooldowns are not supposed to be emergency cooldowns but part of your normal healing, allowing you to do damage otherwise. This is a vital part of the game that will always come back, so it's best to make it a habit early on to do damage as a healer. Next we're going to talk about macros. Macros should only be used in very rare situations. In combat, a lot of times macros actually are deemed worse than anything else. There are exceptions like mouse over or target macros for certain abilities, but in general, you want to avoid macros. Lots of lazy people give the advice to macro your combos for your jobs, but that's absolutely horrible and is one of the worst advices you can follow. Macroing global cooldowns will result in a horrible delay of your abilities. This is because macros only work in intervals of 1 second and your global cooldown usually hovers around 2.4 or 2.5 seconds. Don't forget, we also have off global cooldowns to weave in between our global cooldowns. To actually show you how much of a difference it makes, here's a side-by-side comparison of a macroed opener versus a human executed opener. The difference is insanely significant, so please don't ever macro your combat abilities like this. But we're not quite done yet with macros. There's another form of macros a lot of people fall for when starting Final Fantasy XIV, the so-called panic macros. This is supposed to be a button that makes use of all of your cooldowns, basically acting like a panic button. This applies for both healers and tanks. Tanks can stack their cooldowns, but that's very inefficient, so avoid doing this at all costs. For healers, you have quite a lot of tools that act as panic buttons already, so do not use macros to chain several actions together and make a so-called panic button when you already have them. Let's skim through a few more advices that are absolutely horrible. Please, always have a job stone equipped once you reach the required level to unlock them. On that note, please also do the job quests for your classes, as you will be missing out on important skills. I've seen a lot of people running around without certain skills because they've never done the job quests. Most of the time, yes, melees will be using limit break, especially in high-end raids you will see this a lot. Yet, there's a lot of situations where an LB from a healer can actually save a whole run. This has happened to me several times in high-end parties. Some high-end raids even require caster LBs to pass duty, for example the Weapons Refrain Ultimate. This is a very good one. Don't listen to whatever someone is saying in regards to not playing a job. The Final Fantasy XIV balance team has been doing an absolutely amazing job in Shadowbringers, keeping all jobs relevant and good. This even counts for high-end content and ultimate raids. The only time where meta matters is when doing speedruns, which is probably less than the 0.1% of the community. Play whatever job you want to play and enjoy the game. Don't listen to someone telling you to not play a certain job. Shirk was probably one of the best additions we've seen in a game in terms for tanking. It helps managing aggro a lot for tank swaps and whatever mechanic requires an aggro swap. Make sure to use Shirk whenever you're tanking, as it is such a valuable skill that really helps a ton. The reason why it is so good is because certain tank jobs have different burst windows, so they might end up doing more or less damage during a certain window, which results in possible aggro issues during a required swap. This is where Shirk shines and negates this issue. Here's one of my personal favorites as someone that has played a lot of melee this tier. Positionals don't matter. As you can see, this was mentioned by Monk main, while Monk remains one of the most positional heavy jobs in the whole game as of patch 5.3. Positionals are basically free damage that require you to only hit the back or the flank of a boss. Do not ignore them, as for a lot of jobs they are important for their kit, for example Dragoon or even Samurai. If you're unable to hit a positional, you also have True North available to ignore them for a solid 10 seconds. So please make sure to hit your positionals whenever you can. Before I let you go, I will give you 2 more advices that I personally believe are very valuable on your adventure in AO0 that I wish I knew when I started playing Final Fantasy XIV. First off, do not listen to the in-game mentors. The mentor title in Final Fantasy XIV is honestly a big damn joke. It doesn't require you to actually learn how to play the game properly, it just requires you to play it long and a lot. If you want to improve at Final Fantasy XIV, I suggest you look for resources outside of the game like YouTube, Twitch TV and Discords. There's a lot of knowledgeable players that share their wisdom on how to play the game properly. So please, do not listen to the mentors in-game, as the mentor crown is absolutely useless and more of an accessory than anything else. My last advice is to honestly not skip the story. I know some people only want to reach endgame as fast as possible, as I did when I started, but the story is absolutely amazing. Take your time, enjoy the game completely with all of its aspects, as endgame isn't going anywhere. Jump potions and story skips are available for you to buy, but I highly suggest to only use them to level secondary jobs or completely new secondary character. You can also replay the story on a different character or with the addition of New Game Plus, but please, take your time and enjoy the Final Fantasy XIV storyline. Thank you for watching the video. I really hope you learned something today before going on into your adventure in Final Fantasy XIV. I want to say thank you to my community and to the people on Twitter that responded so much to my original tweet to help me make this video and give you guys the best possible advices for your journey. If you did enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe and check out my other videos. I have several guides for jobs in Final Fantasy XIV and how to play them properly, which is a good starting point. You can also follow me on Twitter for memes and other stuff, to be honest. I do stream daily on Twitch/hi_am_fox and will answer any questions you have regarding Final Fantasy XIV or other stuff, to be honest. On that note, I'm wishing you all a great day, great evening wherever you live, and I'll see you around.